If you opened your wallet right now and pulled out the plastic card you use most often to buy groceries, pay for gas, or shop online, are you holding a direct pipeline to your entire life savings? Millions of seniors carry a debit card in their pocket, treating it like a safer, debt-free alternative to a credit card. It feels incredibly responsible. You are only spending money you actually have. There are no surprise interest charges, no revolving debt, and no monthly credit bills to worry about. But in the modern digital economy, this sense of security is a massive, dangerous illusion. By using a debit card for everyday purchases, you are making the single most devastating financial mistake a retiree can make. You are unknowingly giving invisible thieves a direct, unprotected bridge straight into your checking account. When a criminal compromises a credit card, they are stealing the bank's money. When a criminal compromises a debit card, they are stealing your money. That fundamental difference is the reason why a simple, everyday debit card mistake can leave your bank account completely empty in a matter of seconds, triggering a cascade of financial ruin that can take months to resolve, if it ever gets resolved at all. We have to look closely at the data to understand the sheer scale of this threat. According to the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center, older Americans are under an unprecedented financial assault. In 2025 alone, adults aged 60 and older reported staggering losses of $7.7 billion. That represents a massive 60% increase from the previous year. Criminals are not just getting luckier, they are getting systematically more efficient at draining the accounts of seniors. And the weapon of choice, or rather the vulnerability of choice, is the direct pipeline to your cash. In a recent survey of financial risk officers by the Federal Reserve, respondents reported that debit card fraud accounted for a massive 40% of their institution's total losses from payments fraud. The physical world is just as dangerous as the digital one. If you withdraw cash from a freestanding terminal at a gas station or convenience store, you are playing Russian roulette with your checking account. Financial data shows that 90% of card skimming compromises occurred at non-bank ATMs. Criminals are executing more frequent, smaller-scale attacks across thousands of these vulnerable machines. They attach invisible skimming devices over the card reader, capture your magnetic stripe data, record your personal identification number with a hidden camera, and instantly clone your debit card. Because the stolen card is a debit card, they do not have to buy expensive electronics to fence on the black market. They can simply walk up to another ATM at midnight and drain your daily withdrawal limit in cold, untraceable cash. They repeat this process night after night until the account is completely empty. To understand why debit cards are so uniquely dangerous, we have to look at the strict, unyielding federal laws that govern electronic money. The consumer protections for your payment cards derive from completely different federal statutes based entirely on the type of plastic you swiped. When you use a credit card, you are protected by the Truth in Lending Act, specifically implemented through a federal rule known as Regulation Z. When you use a debit card, your protections fall under the Electronic Fund Transfer Act, or EFTA, which is implemented through Regulation E. These two regulations treat your money, and your liability, in entirely different ways. Under the Fair Credit Billing Act and Regulation Z, your liability for unauthorized credit card charges is legally capped at a maximum of $50, regardless of how much the thieves spent. Furthermore, if the fraudulent charges derive from online, telephone, or mail transactions where the physical card was not presented, your liability is strictly $0. Even better, almost all major credit card issuers voluntarily provide zero fraud liability for all unauthorized transactions as a standard feature. If a hacker steals your credit card number and buys a $10,000 home theater system, you simply call the bank, report the fraud, and the charge is wiped away. You are not out a single penny while the bank conducts its investigation. Debit cards under Regulation E are a completely different, much darker story. Because a debit transaction pulls money directly and instantly from your personal bank account, your liability is not automatically capped at $50 or $0. Instead, your legal liability is determined by a ticking clock. Your financial fate depends entirely on exactly how quickly you notice the missing funds and report the fraudulent charges to your bank. If your physical debit card is lost or stolen, and you report it to your bank within 2 business days of learning about the loss, your maximum liability is capped at $50. However, if you do not notice the card is missing right away, perhaps because it was slipped out of your purse at the grocery store and you did not need it for a few days, and you report it after 2 business days but less than 60 calendar days after your statement is sent, your maximum legal liability skyrockets to $500. That is $500 of your own cash permanently gone, legally forfeited because you did not check your wallet fast enough. It gets worse. If you fail to report the unauthorized transfers within 60 days of the bank statement showing the first fraudulent transaction, your liability is virtually unlimited. You simply lose whatever money was taken. If the thieves drained $40,000 from your checking account, and you did not catch the discrepancy on your statement for 2 months, the bank is legally entirely within its rights to deny your claim. Furthermore, if you have other accounts linked to that debit account, such as a savings account set up for overdraft protection, the thieves can siphon those funds as well, and you could be liable for 100% of that massive, combined loss. There is a slight variation if your physical card is not lost, but only the card number is stolen, for example, in a massive corporate data breach or an online hacking event. In this specific scenario, you have 60 days from the date of the statement on which the fraudulent transaction appears to report it with zero liability. But again, if you miss that strict 60-day window, you may be held responsible for all unauthorized transfers that occurred after the deadline. The danger of the debit card extends beyond outright theft and hackers. It completely changes your leverage when dealing with bad businesses and scammer merchants. Let us say you order a custom piece of furniture online, or you hire a contractor who demands a deposit for home repairs. You pay with your debit card. The furniture arrives completely broken, or the contractor never shows up to do the work. The merchant refuses to give you a refund. If you had paid with a credit card, you would be protected under Regulation Z. Under this federal law, credit card issuers must investigate and resolve billing errors, including transactions involving goods or services that were not delivered or not delivered as agreed. You are legally entitled to withhold payment to the credit card issuer for the disputed amount while they investigate, and the issuer is prohibited from reporting negative information to the credit bureaus during this time. The law preserves your right to assert claims and defenses against the card issuer that you would normally have against the merchant. Regulation E, which governs your debit card, offers no such protection for merchant disputes. The Electronic Fund Transfer Act does not define an error to include the right to dispute a transaction with a merchant simply because there was a problem with the goods or services. Regulation E only protects against incorrect electronic fund transfers, such as a merchant accidentally charging your card twice for the same item. But if a merchant charges you once, intentionally, and then ships you a box of rocks instead of the computer you ordered, your bank is generally under no federal obligation to reverse that debit card charge. You authorize the transfer. The fact that the merchant defrauded you is entirely your problem. You are left to fight the merchant yourself, without the massive legal weight of a credit card company backing you up. Even if you catch debit card fraud early, even if you report it within 2 hours instead of 2 days, the immediate, devastating consequences of the theft still fall entirely on your shoulders. This is the concept of the domino effect, and it is the primary reason financial experts beg seniors to stop using debit cards. When a fraudulent transaction occurs on a credit card, you have not actually lost any of your own money. Your checking account remains untouched. Your mortgage payment will still clear. Your utility bills will still be paid. You simply report the fraud, the issuer puts the charge on hold during the investigation, and the issue never impacts your actual cash flow. With a debit card, your bank account balance is instantly depleted from the precise moment the fraudulent transaction takes place. While the bank conducts its investigation, which can legally take up to 10 business days, or sometimes weeks, to issue a provisional credit, that money is missing from your account. If the theft is significant, the domino effect begins immediately. Your automatic mortgage payment bounces, triggering late fees and potential default warnings from your lender. The check you wrote to the electric company bounces, triggering more fees and a threat of service disconnection. If you have overdraft protection, the bank automatically pulls money from your savings account to cover the fraudulent charges, giving the crook access to 2 accounts instead of 1. You are forced to spend days on the phone, borrowing money to survive, and begging creditors to forgive bounced payments, all while waiting for the bank to decide if they will give you your life savings back. To truly grasp why the debit card is so uniquely dangerous right now, you must understand how criminals are actively tricking seniors into handing over access in 2025 and 2026. The days of simple pickpockets are gone. The FBI reports that the staggering $20.9 billion loss to internet crimes across all age groups last year was driven heavily by sophisticated, AI-driven manipulation. Older adults accounted for $352 million in losses tied specifically to AI-related scams, including deeply disturbing voice cloning technology. Imagine receiving a frantic phone call in the middle of the night. The voice on the other end sounds exactly like your grandson or daughter. They are crying, claiming they have been in a car accident or arrested, and they desperately need you to send funds immediately. This is the family in distress deepfake scam. Because the criminals manufacture a state of absolute terror, they force you into a fight-or-flight response. They will instruct you to go to your local bank, withdraw cash using your debit card, or wire the money directly. Sometimes they will tell you to purchase thousands of dollars in prepaid gift cards at the grocery store. The moment you use your debit card to execute these transactions, the money is gone. Because you technically authorized the withdrawal or the purchase, even if you were tricked by a highly sophisticated AI voice clone, you may not be protected under Regulation E. This is a developing gray area in the law. If you voluntarily pay a scammer, your bank will fiercely argue that the payment was authorized, leaving you entirely responsible for the catastrophic loss. Similarly, tech and customer support scams caused $2.1 billion in reported losses last year. You might be browsing the internet when a terrifying red warning screen locks up your computer, complete with a loud alarm and a phone number claiming to be Microsoft or Apple support. When you call the number out of panic, the technician tells you that your bank account has been compromised by foreign hackers and that they need remote access to your computer to secure your funds. Once inside, they will ask for your debit card number to process a security software fee. In reality, they are capturing your direct banking credentials. Because a debit card is linked directly to your liquid cash, they can instantly initiate massive transfers out of your checking account, often converting the funds into cryptocurrency where it can never be traced or recovered by federal authorities. Investment and cryptocurrency fraud remain the most financially devastating scams overall, accounting for a staggering $11.3 billion in losses. Scammers build elaborate, fake investment platforms promising guaranteed high returns, often targeting retirees looking to combat inflation. They will slowly walk you through the process of linking your checking account or debit card to their fraudulent portals. They might show you fake dashboards indicating your money is growing rapidly, encouraging you to transfer even more from your retirement savings. By the time you attempt to withdraw your supposed earnings and realize the platform is an illusion, the criminals have already drained the accounts linked to your debit card. This is why the separation between your daily spending plastic and your actual bank account is not just a theoretical piece of financial advice, it is a critical survival tactic. Credit cards act as a financial firewall. If an AI voice clone tricks you into giving up your credit card number, or a fake tech support agent charges your credit card, you have the immense power of the Fair Credit Billing Act to dispute the charge and freeze the transaction before a single dollar of your actual cash is surrendered. The credit card issuer has entire departments of lawyers and fraud investigators whose sole job is to fight to get their money back. With a debit card, you are fighting a massive international syndicate completely alone, desperately trying to get your own money back. So, what is the exact protocol to protect yourself? The answer requires a complete shift in how you view and use plastic. First, you must relegate your debit card to a single, highly restricted purpose. withdrawing cash from a physical, securely monitored ATM located inside the lobby of your actual bank branch. Never use a debit card at a gas station pump. Never use a debit card at a convenience store ATM. Never use a debit card to buy groceries, and absolutely never type your debit card number into a website for an online purchase. The risk is simply too astronomical. Instead, the safer alternative is to use a dedicated credit card for all of your everyday purchases, both in person and online. Treat the credit card exactly as you would treat a debit card. Do not use it to finance purchases you cannot afford. Instead, use the credit card to buy your groceries and gas, and then immediately log into your bank account and pay the credit card balance in full every single week. By putting a credit card between the merchant and your checking account, you are deploying a massive, heavily armored federal shield. You get the strict fraud protections of Regulation Z, zero liability for online theft, and the ability to dispute merchant scams without ever risking your own actual cash. If you cannot qualify for a credit card, or if you simply refuse to use one on principle, there are still ways to mimic some of these protections to limit your exposure. Financial experts recommend maintaining a deliberately low balance in the primary checking account that is linked to the debit card you carry. Keep the vast majority of your funds in a completely separate, unlinked savings account. This will not prevent a criminal from stealing your debit card data, but it severely limits the maximum damage they can inflict. If they only have access to an account with $300 in it, they cannot drain your $30,000 retirement fund. Another alternative is to use a prepaid debit card for online purchases or travel. If a hacker gains access to a prepaid card account, they can only steal the specific, limited amount of money you explicitly loaded onto that piece of plastic. They cannot cross over into your primary checking or savings ecosystem. It creates an air-gapped layer of security that mimics the hard boundary of a credit card limit. You must also remain hypervigilant regarding the warning signs of financial compromise. Do not wait for a paper statement to arrive in the mail 30 days from now. In the digital age, 30 days is a lifetime. You should be logging into your banking portal or reviewing your transactions on a secure mobile app every single week. Look for tiny, unfamiliar charges, often for amounts like $1 or $2. Criminals frequently run these microscopic test charges to verify that a stolen debit card is active and the account has funds before they execute a massive, account-draining withdrawal. If you notice even a single unauthorized transaction, or if you realize your physical debit card is missing, you must act with ruthless speed. Every hour counts. Call your bank immediately using the official phone number printed on the back of your card. Never trust a phone number sent to you in an email or a text message, as those are often spoofed by the scammers themselves. Report the card as stolen, demand that the physical card number be permanently deactivated, and officially dispute the unauthorized charges under Regulation E. By understanding the severe legal differences between debit and credit, respecting the ticking clock of federal liability limits, and shifting your daily spending habits away from direct bank access, you can close the door on the thieves targeting older Americans. You worked your entire life to build your savings. Do not let a simple piece of plastic give it all away.